Hello, Joe Black here, drinking some coffee from a mug that says Bad Seed, because that's what I am. This is about a year and a half after my last YouTube Q&A, but I asked the internet because there's quite a lot of new followers over the various social media, so I thought now was the time to do a new Q&A, which is of course the ultimate act of self-indulgence, but these are your questions, not mine. Let's go. Tabitha Noir XX asks, top 5 bands or films you always recommend? There's not a consistent recommendation, but I do absolutely love recommending things. Hello, quick note from the edit suite of this, just to let you know that this next section is 1 minute 45, which is very different from the original recording of me spending 20 minutes recommending 5 bands and 5 films and going into absolutely minute detail. Enjoy the abridged version. Thought you'd appreciate that. Goodbye. So, I would like to recommend, band-wise, Katsunyama, and 2 songs to start with, Bar in Amsterdam and Lady Marlene. Something a little bit heavier, the Bridge City Sinners, I believe they would describe themselves as satanic folk music, satanic folk punk. For people who like, a bit of hardness and a bit of heartbreak, Amigo the Devil. First song I ever heard by him was It's All Gone, but there's a song called Cocaine and Abel, which breaks my heart. A recent discovery for me, Ben Kaplan. A song called You've Arrived is a personal favourite, but I discovered him with a song called Birds with Broken Wings. Again, a sort of evil-sounding man that does... evil-sounding man with big beard. That is a favourite musical genre of mine. Patrick Wolf. Songs Libertine is a personal favourite. Films, my current top 4 on Letterboxd, feel free to follow me, is Batman Returns, Silence of the Lambs, The Elephant Man, and Delicatessen. And just for a 5th thing, actually, just because not enough people have seen it, there is a French vampire film called The Vaudellac, where the vampire is a puppet and everyone else is a person. And it's just, I put it on quite blindly, not knowing what to expect, and I was completely blown away. Really kind of folk horror, wonderful, and there's puppet. So, what more can we wish for? Pixel Plague asks, what animal best represents you physically and or spiritually? Spiritually, I feel like a gibbon. Well, in that, not physically a gibbon, because, my arms are not that particularly long, but spiritually in that they kind of seem both bewildered and busy at the same time. Woo, like this. But physically, they say people look like their pets. And I will insert a picture of Klaus where I feel that me and him, let me just... You see? Me and Klaus. Pixie Willow Moon asks, would love some more of your book reviews. I love knowing what other people are reading. I found so many good books that way. 3 words. Books I would like to recommend that I'm not reading at the moment, but I have read. Barry Sonnenfeld, Call Your Mother. He's just sort of brilliantly, sort of beautifully unusual, and he's very, very, very funny, and there's lots of behind-the-scenes stories on the Addams Family films and Strange Events and Men in Black, and just his life in general, his humble beginnings as a cinematographer for pornography into the Addams Family. What Rhymes with Bastard by Linda Robertson. It's a sort of a memoir of a woman whose relationship breaks down, and she moves from the UK to San Francisco, and she starts a cabaret band, and she wins Miss Accordion San Francisco. It was just like in a bargain bin at a bookshop. Totally random, purchase. Just got it because I thought, oh, this seems fun. And I've read it 5 or 6, 7 times. I met her. She came to a gig in London when she was over from San Francisco for a wedding. I bought the band CDs, Cotton Candy Cabaret, they were called. Don't exist anymore. And I mean, you'd probably be able to buy the book secondhand or an ebook of it. But it's just so much fun. And I took it on tour with me when she came to the show and I got it signed. But yeah, totally random find that sort of really got into my very soul. Umbra Bites asks, what's your favourite cryptid? The way you've asked this looks like this is a horny question with the little devil emoji. You get off on people mentioning their favourite cryptids? Because I'm going to tell you. So you better have some tissues ready, you pervert. Well, I would like to say that in, growing up in the 90s, I was led to believe, because I read things like, Tales of the Strange and Unusual type magazines, I was really led to believe that me and the Chupacabra would have more run-ins than we have. The Chupacabra, the South American cryptid that feasts on livestock. Me growing up on a council estate in Portsmouth, Hampshire, was really convinced that me and the Chupacabra were gonna have some moments. I will say, as a favourite cryptid, the Wendigo, I think is quite a horrific one. And me and the Wendigo do have some history because if you were around for my Twitch streaming period, which may come back at some point, I believe the technical term was absolutely shit up by playing Until Dawn, which involves Wendigos. And I believe someone made a compilation. And if I've managed to find the video, I'm going to play it right here. Cat Sampson asks, hey Joe Black, what is your favourite ghost story? Favourite ghost story involves an English lesson at school. So as a teenager, to probably no one's surprise, I was quite into ghosts. And I was with a particular group of friends that, at some point I'll talk about this separately. But I got very into crystals and the spiritualist church and mediums and things like that. A turning point for me was being in an English lesson, and a friend, one of my best friends in school, sat to my right, suddenly cried out in pain. And everyone sort of looked round and they said, what's the matter? And he said, I've been stabbed by a ghost. And our sort of very thin patient, woman with thin patience English teacher said, well, okay. And they sent us and our little misfit group to the school priest, who just went, he didn't know what to do. And shortly after that, I thought, maybe this isn't for me. Not because I'm worried about being stabbed by ghosts, but because I'm not entirely sure that happened. Jeanette Watson. Good afternoon. Your home looks fabulous. What is your most favourite possession? What was the last thing you bought? Favourite possession? I don't know if you can see it, the lights and things, but yeah, love her dearly. So it's Glenn Close as a Barbie. And last thing I purchased was a bear lamp, and I will put in a picture or video of the bear lamp right now. Braya DQ asks, what is your favourite quote that you resonated with? I particularly enjoy the Polish idiom of not my circus, not my monkeys. I had it written on a bit of paper on my desk because I would get upset or worried about things involving other people that were nothing to do with me. And that was one that I had to keep looking at. Every time that I could feel myself becoming concerned or being affected emotionally by other people's things, going, not my circus, not my monkeys. And I think it is whimsical and also a very good lesson to be following. Jamie Pazza asks, which finger is your favourite? Well, Jamie, you're just setting it up for me to do this to you. But that's not my favourite finger, and that would make me a liar. A big fan of a thumbs up. Nothing says everything more than just going. I'm also very fond of this. I like pointing. And recently for pointing, when I go to shows and events, I am not a very big reactor to things. I'm not the sort of person that gets onto their feet and hollers and claps and, reacts to things. I will sit there in my life in general, just like this, and I will turn to the person I'm with and I will say, I am having a marvelous time. Like that. That's how I have a good time. Oh, isn't this very good? But I recently went to see a woman called Lady Gaga at an arena, and I'd never been to an arena show before. And it's quite hectic, huge production, and the production levels were insane. And everyone around me was sort of onto their feet and screaming along, and there's all these flashing wristbands and stuff going. But as I said, I don't really particularly react very in a big way to things at events, which is unsettling if I'm on people watching me at shows and they're thinking, why isn't you reacting? No, I'm having a very nice time. I'm just like this, but in my head I'm going, oh, I'm having the best evening. But the production was so high and so ridiculous and huge on this that I just found myself going, at things. So like a huge prop would appear or some sort of firework or something, and I would just Gwynhild! I sound like I'm talking backwards like in Twin Peaks. Gwynhild. I'm assuming that's correct. Asks, I'd love to hear about your go-to or favourite fragrances. Also, please give Egon a very respectable how do you do from me. Firstly, Egon is not respectable, but here are some fragrances. Serge Lutens. I can't speak French, but I can if you'd like. I think it just means smoke screen. I like heavy perfumes. So I got this on, I shan't name one, but a second-hand selling site, which is a really good place to find perfume because people get given them as gifts. Or they're stolen. I don't know. But either way, they're cheaper on the things. And this is actually what I'm wearing right now. So if you know what this smells like, that's sniff your screen and imagine that. A recent acquisition is the Comme des Garçons, like the boys, collaboration with Max Richter, the composer. It's a really weird scent. The notes are graphite, vetiver, piano soundboard cedar, violin bow rosin, transistor, and magnetic tape. And I will tell you, when this dries down, you've had it on for a little while, I can smell magnetic tape very clearly. And I love it. I like weird fragrances, heavy, strange, unsettling fragrances. And for something a little more simple, there's a local company in Brighton, because Comme des Garçons, like the boys, and Serge Lutens doesn't need your money necessarily. However, local company, Isle of Avalon in Brighton, the perfumes are pretty straightforward. It's usually two things. This one is pepper and leather. So if I'm feeling like I want to smell a little more straightforward, this is a really, really lovely one that I wear day to day, pepper and leather. And there's also a frankincense and bergamot one, which I've been spraying before going to bed so that I feel like I go to bed smelling wonderful. Briar DQ asks, what songs do you love that are funeral worthy? Now, this is a strange question, because when you say love that funeral worthy, funeral songs don't tend to just be sad for the sake of sad, right? They tend to be hopeful, or they some sort of journey or a meaning to someone. It's not like, I mean, I would, but not everyone's gonna go, I might be popping off soon. What's the saddest thing I can request that people have to sit there and listen to? My funeral song, if you are curious, that's not really the question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. is Tonight We Fly by the Divine Comedy. And that is what I would like played when I pop it, because I think the lyrics are beautiful. I used to have competitions with people on long drives or train journeys. I've forced many people into this game of taking turns trying to outsad the other one. And let me tell you that two songs that will always win you points are Look Mummy No Hand by Dilly Keane and Grey by Annie DeFranco. E.K. Wordsmith? I don't know things. Who asks, who are your historical inspirations, icons, and favourites? Go as mainstream or as obscure as you want. I want to learn about the fascinating deviant streamers and delights that help shape you. Thank God you asked. I would like to talk to you about the Marchesa Luisa Casati, Italian socialite, patron of the arts, and all-round batshit. She threw crazy balls. She had a cheetah as a pet. She lived on a little Italian island. There's lots of things she did, but most importantly, she lived a life of great excess, inspired many, funded many artists, just to do pictures of her, of course. There's been things inspired by her. Galliano did a Dior collection inspired by her in the early 2000s, I think. Tilda Swinton has done photo shoots as her. She's buried in Brompton Cemetery in London. She died in London penniless and going blind, because what she would do is, in order to make herself, she had dyed red hair, which was quite unusual for the early 1900s. She would drop belladonna into her eyes to dilate them, to make her eyes look black, which is obviously isn't very good for you. But on her grave, yes, and I have this on a note here because I did not want to misquote. On her grave, it says, "Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety." And there is a book about her called, I think, just Infinite Variety. Yes, about her life and her story, and I highly recommend it. Tara Tarrison. That sounds like a made-up name, doesn't it? What are you hiding, Tara? I saw you in Norwich back in 2021. I bought a bottle of your gin. It has gold specks in it. It does. I've only just opened it. Not sure what made me open it. It's because I possessed you. But it's utterly delightful. If you can make anything, what would it be? For those of you unaware, in 2021, I released a limited edition gin, which is great in hindsight. As someone that now doesn't drink, at least I got it out of the way when I did. We considered an absinthe afterwards, and actually it's something that was spoken about maybe being brought back, but then since I went sober, it feels disingenuous to sell alcohol if it's not an item I would consume, which is a principle I would like to live by, is that I would not ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. If I would make anything, what would it be? I really wanted to make like 1920s and 30s Halloween mask, like gauze Halloween masks of my face, which I thought would be really, really fun. And I also loved the idea of doing like a death mask cast of my face, which is wildly morbid and inappropriate, but anyone who would be buying it from me would also be wildly morbid and inappropriate. So all I'm doing is just giving those people what they want. Nualao? Nualao asks, it's a Twin Peaks related one here. Do you think Laura Palmer's death is required for her to be free from the dark influences? Agent Cooper's need to save her actually is the wrong thing, as it means her suffering continues and the fire will eventually destroy all the branches. And I have one thing to say to you. Nims asks, if you could be any mythical creature, what would you be and why? I thought long and hard about this. I've decided that I would like to be the Sphinx, because I can be both pedantic and mysterious, but ultimately bound to my own rules. We've come to questions from Patreon. Plug. So these are, multiple point questions. So, Annabelle. Which books or other media have you been reading inspired by your grant, I suppose, and the shows you've attended? For those of you unfamiliar, I got a DYCP Arts Council grant, which is a Develop Your Creative Practice, which is not meant for investment in things other than yourself. And that project is done. And what I spent the money on was I saw lots of shows, not necessarily things that I would have seen before. So I've been exposed to lots of art that I otherwise would have not been present for. And also paying other artists to work with me and develop with me, which was amazing. But one of the big things actually is it's made me really open to other people's work, even if I'm at face value not familiar with them, or it's not for me. So something like Substack is great because I'm finding that I'm looking through and just reading personal essays from people that I may not have a lot of things in common with, or about subjects that don't necessarily speak to me, but trying to still find the value in those things. So that's been it's made me more people's personal essays. Has the creative process changed due to all the changes in your life during the past year? Yes. I'm now more willing to experiment and to try stuff out. Not as much as I would like, but I'm still kind of overcoming that, because I had this thing where I would only make something when I knew exactly what I was going to make and what the end result was going to be. I didn't do a lot of playing, but actually, because of the creative or the changes in my life, my creative process with the DYCP, and now I'm no longer managed, so I'm kind of I'm left to my own devices. I can kind of do whatever I want, and I'm having so much more fun playing with things. And also, you don't know what's going to resonate with people. You can make something that's for fun or flippant, and you go, well, I just want to do it, there we go, and put that out into the world. And maybe that's the thing that hits people's imaginations more. So yeah, a lot more fun, a lot more playing, but not as much as I would like, and that's what I'm working on. What is the Cat's fee for their guest appearances in your live videos? I'm guessing Klaus is more expensive and diva-ish. Well, it's 1 kibble per minute. And for those of you who follow me on social media, you'll notice that Klaus doesn't actually get involved that much on social media anymore. And it's not because he's a diva-ish mentality or difficult to work with. He's mostly just behind the camera, just scowling. That was Egon, if you heard the meowing. Klaus just scowls behind the camera. With a blank check, describe your dream show outfits at the moment, clothes and accessories. I love a pinstripe. I'm wearing pinstripe trousers right now. I don't know if you can see them. Can you see them? Yay! I love a pinstripe, a nice bold pinstripe. I would like a nice jacket, long, dramatic, big villain one, shoulder pads, pinstripe, high-waisted trousers, big wide trousers, nice big rounded collar, but tatty. I look like I've been put through like a tumble dryer of knives. Question from Sim on Patreon. Okay, these are my top 5, and then an embarrassed face. Never be embarrassed, Sim. Never! Unless you've done something wrong, in which case we're ashamed of you. Who or what inspired your entertainment career at the beginning? Now, Sim, I've got the coffee, because this is a good question. The year was 2006, November. I attended a performance of the Dresden Dolls at the London Roundhouse, which was recorded for a DVD release. If you look in the special features, you may spot 16-year-old me. It was an incredible show where there was 3 stages, and all the sport bands were sport acts, really, were variety acts. So there were some musicians, but performance art pieces and circus and experimental theatre. It was incredible. And I watched this evening, and at the very end they did a song called Sing, which is about just singing no matter what, just doing it no matter what. And I looked around, all the people with like lighters and, I don't want to say phone torches, because we didn't really have iPhones then, with like lighters and lights in the air or whatever, doing this thing. And it just, something in me went, God, I need to do something. And then I went home and I thought about what I would put out into the world. And, you know, I did my first gig in June 2007, and sort of nearly, 18 and a half years later, here we are. And I'm talking to you, and it's all thanks to that moment of being stood in that room and looking around and just seeing all of these people united in this song after this evening of variety and cabaret, and sort of the love of being different. And it really spoke and ignited a flame within me. So thank you very much for that question, Sim. Who is top of your bucket list to perform with? I mean, if we're being unrealistic, of course I'll say Tom Waits or Nick Cave, right? That would be wonderful. I'd love to do that. I'd love to duet with St. Vincent, but this isn't going to happen, I don't think. However, what I think, I've got it in my head. I would love to perform with not just The Damned, but very specifically Dave Vanian of The Damned, the singer of The Damned, because I feel aesthetically I am on the same trajectory as him, the sort of young, gothy, vampire-looking person. And now the man is all pencil mustaches and Panama hats. I need to become friends with this man, and I understand he's mysterious. But Dave Vanian, if you are watching this, be my friend, and then sing with me. What is the one book you always recommend people read? Right. Firstly, I'm going to say, generally speaking, anything by David Sedaris. Incredible, my favourite. Personal essays, a few fiction bits, but just hilarious and dark and insightful, and I've listened to the audiobooks again and again and again, and I've read the books again and again and again. Calypso is a personal favourite. At the moment, I'm just finished listening again to When You're Engulfed in Flames, and Happy Go Lucky is playing at the moment of an evening. So generally speaking, David Sedaris is nice and easy for everyone. For young people, if you identify on the LGBTQI plus spectrum, or even if you don't, I would recommend Boy Meets Boy by David Leviathan. I think it's a really beautiful book, and I read it when I was maybe like 17, 18. What's a book that has an unexpected lasting effect on you? I mentioned this in a reel recently. It's Tender as the Flesh by Augustina Basterrica. It is about a dystopian future where animal meat, as animals have become infected and the meat is diseased, and so cannibalism becomes normalized and legalized because it becomes farmed. And it's horrific. And when I finished it, I just sat with the book in my lap and just stared into the distance a little bit, and then I stopped eating meat immediately afterwards. Again, not for the faint of heart. It's one of the most deeply unpleasant things I've ever read, but it really stayed with me. And it's absolutely vegan propaganda. And it's very good vegan propaganda. What is your favourite story of your cats and their antics? Very simply, once Klaus was really consistently playing up, being just destroying things and unsettled, and I thought, oh no, his behaviour's really changed. So I took him to the vets, and they did all the checks. We did everything we should and could do to see what was happening. Nothing else changed other than his behaviour. So really, what happened was, I paid a vet a substantial amount of money to tell me that my cat was a dickhead. And that's that. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful to answer your questions. I hope my rambling has given you some semblance of entertainment. Please like, subscribe, and join me on Patreon if you so wish. There are songs and stories and lots of things happening over there. Go on. Find the link below. Now I'll look at you as I'm imagining over here will appear some things, and in the style of Outside Xbox, I would like to say, if you would like this thing, it is here. And if you would like this thing, it is here. Thank you very much. Goodbye.